What's up, everybody? So this is long overdue. I don't think I have ever done this, at least not in this format. But I am going to semi-conversating document because I don't think I'm gonna have comments open on these videos. I might have to go back to my unemployment stuff and not turn off comments on that. We'll see. Anyway, but this is definitely going to be on another level because this is in reference to my faith and my life walk. Um, so for introductory purposes, I have been in the church pretty much all my life. Fell in love with the Bible. Uh, I was like 10 or 11 at the most. So unlike many Christians that I knew personally who really don't read the Bible that much, I started at an early age reading it and having a lot of just an affinity for it. Really got into it, and when I realized that it didn't seem to be as important to even my mom or other people at the time, then I was like, oh, maybe I shouldn't be as into this and excited because people ain't taking it like how I'm taking it. Because I'm thinking that what I'm reading is the real deal. If what I'm reading is real, then all this nothing else matters but this. If out of everything that's important in life, this is the most important thing. And if we can't get excited about this, then there's a problem. so 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 easily I was affected by that in a sense to temper it, so to speak, meaning not be so into it that I'm no longer living like everybody else, kind of thing. So I therefore became like a lot of people, where you're having faith in one hand and living like the world in the other, which is why a lot of Christians get the whole hypocrite stamp and everything. So anyway, because if we really believe what we read, for real, we wouldn't be doing 9 out of 10 things that we do, even on just the words that we speak and the things that we think. So anyway, not to mention how we treat people, but anyway, so let me start with the foundation of this. So the beginning of this is going to be the fact that right now I'm not in the best situation, being unemployed. Also, I don't really have a successful career. I am definitely in my mature years of adulthood, and I had a daughter, had a kind of forced marriage, so to speak. I married the person I impregnated, which was, 2 horrible things that I, kind of ruined my life with, so to speak. And that's my opinion. I mean, I know a lot of people, I don't know where people get these thoughts from, where they're I don't have any regrets, and anything that happened wrong or whatever, it's just a lesson you learn and move on from it and all that kind of stuff. I'm sorry, I call all that crap BS. I'm sorry, that's some bull crap. I'm sorry, I got regrets, dang it, because there are too many things that I wish I didn't do. And maybe not too many things I wish I didn't do, but there's just certain things, like that being one, that I wish I didn't do, because the reality is I knew better. I just didn't do better. And there's not much for me to learn if I already knew it was wrong to do. I don't need the lesson. I messed up. I made a bad choice. And then I got to deal with the consequences of that. I would much rather had not made that choice all day. I will take not making that choice all day than anything else. And I know some people be like, well, once you have a child, it's this, that, and the third, and I would never take that back. Bruh, it ain't about me. It ain't about me. People would think, okay, here's the sad thing. There are a lot of people who are really selfish about having kids, to be honest. They're selfish about having kids. And they make it really about them and not the child. Because, I'm sorry. I didn't want to bring a child into this world until I was in a position where I could take care of them. And when I say in a position to take care of them, I mean in a position where I'm financially independent and I don't have to depend on a job to take care of myself. So therefore, I can be there for my child 24/7 no matter what. And I can create the foundation for my child so that they're not, only subjected to what the world gives them in public education and everything else. Oh yeah, you're still going to experience life in the world. But if I want to be in the best possible possible position to give you the best foundation, so that when you do have to deal with the world, you have everything that you need. So even if you go off and make bad choices, this and the third, because I believe that the word of God says, if you train up a child in the way that you go, when they are old, they won't depart from it. So even if you go off crazy and this and the third, not having to do necessarily with me, but because of the words of God, I believe to be true and will always hold true no matter what. Me doing my part as your parent, instilling the right things and giving the right examples and everything, it's going to come back full circle at some point, whether I live to see it or not. But at least I did my job. When you are without and you are subjugated to a job and all the other restrictions of life that come with having lack and not having enough and having a bad mate that you're with, you hinder your ability to be able to give the child the best possible foundation. Not to say that you can't do something well, because we all have testimonies. I'm a personal testimony of the fact my mom ain't had to be perfect and have everything. Now the crazy thing was, 9 times out of 10, my mom did not work a job. She worked all the time, but my mom was an independent entrepreneur. And that's the sad thing. It's funny because, see, my mom, she was not your traditional entrepreneur. It was just the fact that her mom died when she was like 14, and my mom taught herself how to sew. My mom went to beauty school and became a licensed beautician. So my mom did hair. My mom sewed dresses, whole wedding party dresses, prom dresses, and this, that, and the third, and altered suits and different things. So she had a few jobs here and there with some, clothing store companies. But for the most part, through most of my childhood coming up, my mom was home. My mom was home and provided for us. We wasn't rich, and we had some struggles, and we lost a house, but all in all, mom put it down. So I'm just saying though, but when you have a choice, meaning making a bad choice of bringing a child out of wedlock into the world, that, I had the mindset of, like, when I was in college. I got exposed to network marketing. Now, not to date myself, this and the third, but just kind of put things in context. It was the early 90s. I graduated from high school in 94. 95, I'm in St. Louis University on campus, and my roommate was a business administration major. I was a business management major. And he was in this company, in this network marketing called Amway. And I didn't know anything about it, never heard of it, whatever. But he sat down, showed me the plan, and basically, showed me people who had a lifestyle of, they put in work. And because they put in work over and above their jobs, it helped a lot of people get a secondary income, a passive income, that they were able to, live the way they wanted to live and not worry about a job anymore, and get passive income enough to have a comfortable life. That concept. Now, I know Amway and network marketing and all that can have its own stuff, but just the concept of being independent financially, living a debt-free life, and not having to go to work for a job. Just that whole concept, that you could show me a book of over 100 people living like this, was an eye-opener for me. Now prior to that, what really did I have planned for my life? I really can't say that I knew, because prior to me coming into college, I had been dancing pretty much all my life, but dancing on a semi-professional level from maybe 7th grade. Yeah. Like somewhere between 7th, 8th grade. So that's like between 12, 13. Ooh. Wow. So 13, 14. Yeah. So probably between 8th grade and 9th grade. 8th grade and 9th grade. So around 8th grade for sure. 8th grade for sure. I was probably between 8th grade and 9th grade. I was able to dance at public schools and get $100. I was able to dance on local cable shows and get paid. I was able to dance on a regular basis doing halftime shows for professional sports. We was in St. Louis, Missouri, so there was no football team, there was no basketball team, there was a baseball team, but we didn't get to do that. But we did get to perform at like the soccer team arenas, and college halftime shows and things like that. And then other events. I also performed on the Dre Lewis Telethon. So as a teenager, I'm like on national TV, and nobody even knew what I was doing on the weekends. Traveling and doing different things. So it was an amazing experience that I was fortunate enough to have, that set my mind up to at least a possibility that that I could be like the people I looked up to and dance professionally on stage for people like Hammer or maybe other artists. Because at the time, of course Michael Jackson is the top, but at the time, like outside of Remember the Time, like Remember the Time was one of the first times that I saw, people dancing with Michael that, like, oh, I can do that kind of dancing. Because, unfortunately, like in my era, I say my era, I mean, I saw Michael from when he first jumped on stage with Thriller at Motown 25. So, and he just didn't have other dancers with him when he performed on that, like with his brothers. So it wasn't until later, that he started doing those big concerts and having dancers. And when I saw that, it wasn't anything like, to some extent, I was like, yeah, I could do it. But, the more it went on, the more feminine the dancers looked. And it was like, yeah, I can't see myself doing that. But, I can dance. But I don't want to do that. But it's Mike. I would have did it for Mike. But, Remember the Time, Captain EO, even Beat It and everything, like Pop and Pete from the original movie Breaking, for those who know. They were in there doing their breaking. They weren't necessarily doing, the jazz, modern dancing and that kind of thing. So for opportunities like that, it was always a door, a possibility to be able to do something like that. But with my faith as well, I thought that maybe God would open up a door and I'd be able to dance in some type of ministry form around the world. Matter of fact, again, with the network marketing with the Amway thing, they had conventions and things worldwide. So I thought maybe this was it. Maybe this was an opportunity where I don't have to quote unquote dance for the world in, like, sexual things or things that I might not agree with from a faith standpoint. But I could, travel the world and be successful in this network marketing business. And as part of my presentation, when I'm giving my testimony, I could actually perform. Because once they see what I can do, it's like it's a whole nother level. So, because there weren't even a lot of black people, and then of the black people, like, first off, there weren't in '95. There weren't even a lot of people under the age of 21 that were doing network marketing. Let's just start there. I was 17 my freshman year, 18 my sophomore year, basically in college. So there was, like, when people saw people under the age of 21 getting into the network marketing business, they were in a professional way, in a respectful way, like jealous, publicly jealous, like, oh my gosh, like here I am 30, 40, 50 years old, and here's an 18-year-old getting into a business that I've been trying to make happen for my family and life, and like here they have the same opportunity that I'm working my butt off to do. And so they can literally be if they do the work, they could be a millionaire before they're 30. And that happened for some people, just not me. So anyway, that stuff happened. And the funny thing is that not being successful in that situation affected me in more ways than I could probably I might have to make a separate video on articulating how that affected me, or maybe not. Maybe I could just say and summarize it. It affected me on a great deal because, number one, people thought you were in a pyramid scheme. They thought you were crazy. They thought you just wanted to be rich. They thought you just wanted quick and fast money. Nobody wanted to go around selling things. When the sad thing is, if you did the business right, you didn't necessarily have to, especially not then. Nowadays, you kind of do. But back then, as long as you just change your buying habits and stop buying the things that you normally buy from the regular stores and bought from yourself through this business. And unfortunately, some of the things were more expensive, but if you had just changed your buying habits and took that little bit of hit from the more expensive products and was able to duplicate it, meaning have other people do it with you, collectively, you all would have been making more money than what you were spending, and you could have created passive income in a situation. But unfortunately, because most people are not entrepreneurial minded or business minded, number one, and don't understand, how to run a business and how business works and how making money works, most people aren't going to do it, especially if, depending on where you are in life, you're not even around the type of people who have that mindset. Again, my mom was an entrepreneur, but not the traditional type. So she didn't have to go out and try to make a brick and mortar store or, just some of the other things. Because a lot of people in the Amway business were business owners, were very successful people in their world, in their life, in their career. They were successful people. They had expendable cash. So for them to have an opportunity to have a secondary business, a passive income, it made sense, because they was already working, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 hours at a job. And they're like, this isn't living. I'm just working. But if I can do this on the side and free myself from this job, yeah, like then I can have a life. And people were doing that. So, the company's been around for, that was the early 90s. They had been around before I was born, and people always thought it was a pyramid scheme, and people were like, oh, you just selling soap, and there's like, oh, people couldn't sell soap, they had a bunch of soap in their basement, and my mother's dog's cousin, brother, sister tried to sell it and didn't work. The sad thing was, back then, it was all 100% money back guarantee with no expiration date on it, which meant if you had a bunch of the product, all you had to do is send it back to the company, even if you used it, and you would have got your money back. But people lie and people cry because they don't want to put in the work that it would take to actually get out of your comfort zone and do something different and make a difference. That's the bottom line, because the sad thing is 99% of everything that they told me in the early 90s, 95, 96, 94, all came true. Because again, that was pre-2K, 2000. When Y2K happened and all that kind of stuff and everything went to the internet. This was so, like, the internet was so early at that point, early 90s. There was no YouTube. There was no a whole bunch of stuff. There was no Google. There was no Amazon. Okay? All that stuff, Amway predicted. Yeah, literally, to the T. The fact that here I am in 2023 and my degree basically means nothing. My degree from 1999 basically means nothing. And I end up changing my career or my major from business management to communication technology because my roommate also, he was business administration and he changed to communication technology. And the reason why we did is because at the school we were at, they put in $1 million into the computer lab, and the computer lab was under the umbrella of the communications department. And people were doing graphic and multimedia things in the computer lab. So he came home one day, or came back to the dorm with his own logo and a check, like his own check that he had made. So a logo and a check that he had physically made on the computer. Like, this was a big deal in 95. So, Windows 95. So I saw that and was like, yeah, I think I need to make a change. Like, this was during the era of the Budweiser Frog commercials and things like that. And one of our classes, we actually went on a field trip and went to the studio where they actually produced the Budweiser Frogs, which was there in St. Louis. And the crazy thing is, what did they say when we went on that tour? When we asked the people who were working there, how could we do this? They said, you can't. At least that's what was told to me. Literally verbatim, I will never forget it. Told me as a college student to my face, you can't do this. And the only way you could even get a possibility of being able to get to a level of doing something like this and using Ovid or whatever, which was the software they were using, was to go to California and go to school there. That's really helpful to a college student. So anyway, so that was that. And so I taught myself HTML actually on the weekends. And I took the classes that were offered. I should have changed my major to MIS, but I was intimidated because of the computer language stuff, because I had a bad experience in high school where we took COBOL in high school and nobody knew nothing. And there were literally 2 students in the class that knew what to do, and the teacher was so, like, he wouldn't even pay attention. He'd leave the room, this, and the third. And so all the students would literally go to the 2 computers where these 2 people knew what they were doing and just copied what they were doing. It was ridiculous. So I was unfortunately intimidated. I had I realized I could have did it, because once I got to college, I started making straight A's in math and went all the way to calculus, this, that, and the third, and was doing really good because I had a summer before college of a program that I was a part of to get into the school to help me know how to study and acclimate things and whatnot. And the math part of that and the math tutoring just like changed everything for me. But anyway, so changed to communication technology, and unfortunately when I got to the senior year, we were supposed to use Director. We had used Premiere. I'd used Premiere and did some good things in Premiere, video editing software. But we did not use Director because they had allowed students who had not taken a prerequisite to be in the class. So the teacher decided that since most of the people in the class didn't take the prerequisite, like me, we didn't even move forward with Director. Now that's probably lazy. Excuse me. That was probably lazy of him as an instructor to do that, because now you're hindering me from getting what I'm paying for in my senior year course of my major. That should have been something I should have fought. But how would I know that? I wasn't of that mindset and understanding that situation. I didn't understand that. as a college student during that time, I definitely didn't understand. Look, this is my money I'm paying, because they were all loans. So I didn't understand, like, this is my money I'm paying for this class, and I deserve and should get the proper education that I need, that I'm paying for. Didn't understand that then. I also didn't understand the fact that they didn't even have a curriculum set up for multimedia, even though they were teaching classes of multimedia and digital imaging and things of that nature. Uh, uh, what's the word? Computer design. There's another word for it, but anyway, because again, this is early '90s, mid '90s. Everybody later, everybody had the hat of, oh, I can do, computer graphics, and there's a word for that I'm missing, but anyway, everybody wore the hat later of doing websites. Then they came up with all the software on the internet, so the software was doing the web pages, and people would even design the web pages. Web design, and that was the other thing. I can't think of it, but it was something to do with artistry with a computer, whatever, multimedia design or something of that nature. But anyway, so I wanted to further my education in multimedia, video editing, and things of that nature. But under the curriculum that they had at the school, it was literally under communications, under the communication umbrella. You literally had advertising, journalism. That was it. When we went to talk to the counselor, and I'm like, this is what I'm taking, and is there some place in, like, they didn't even know how to come up with a curriculum that had a title. Like, it ended up being communications technology, ended up being the title that they put it under or whatever, but it meant nothing, because technology was changing at such a rate during that time that they didn't even have a curriculum set up for it, for the how far you needed to go and the things you needed to learn. I would have been better off going to a 2-year school, which my roommate, after he graduated, ended up going and getting his IT degree, which is also something I should have did. So, because I wouldn't be having this job issue if I did that. So, unfortunately for me. So, but anyway, so that was a bad situation coming out of college for that. And then, so the devastation of not being successful with the business, not being able to dance. Like, once I went to college, even though I was still in St. Louis, my dance peers kind of wrote me off a little bit. Matter of fact, they wrote me off to the point of, in my freshman year, they went and auditioned for Hammer and didn't tell me. They told me they were going out of town and asked if I could go, and I was like, well, got finals and stuff going on. Tell me what's up. And they literally wouldn't tell me. They said, oh, no, it's okay, this, that, and third. I said, no, what's up? It's like, no, it's cool. Literally didn't tell me that they were going to Little Rock, Arkansas to audition for Hammer, which they did. And of the two brothers, one of them got picked up by Hammer, and he was on the news and did the award show and went on to do other things. And then by that spring, he brought his brother in, and they did a music video with an artist that I wish I could remember her name. And then Aaliyah came out spring break of '95 with One in a Million. And it was the two brothers that I used to dance with and another guy. And everybody thought that guy was me because he looked similar to me, had same hairstyle and different things, which was actually Showtime. But anyway, and yeah, so they were dancing with Aaliyah, and we were all excited. And I talked to them, and they said, she's looking for a fourth dancer. Can you send us a video? So I immediately put together a video, sent it to them. I was all excited, and they said she liked it or whatever, but that was it. They didn't say anything else, and I was just like, because the reality was I couldn't just go to California. I couldn't just drop college and go to California. Not that was a discussion, but it was kind of implied. And that was not something that my mom would have been okay with, and it was something that would have been a huge thing for me, that hindsight looking back, I don't think I would have been ready for, because I just didn't have the mindset of understanding and knowing, like, how to handle certain things and just have the right mindset. I mean, I know that now. At the time I would have been like, oh, I can definitely do it. And it's not about talent level being able to do it, but it's a certain kind of adult mindset and understanding of you understanding the environments that you're going into and what's really at stake and what's going on. I would not have had that understanding. And there's a lot of stuff that goes on that other side. So anyway, but I had met, when I was in high school, I had met another dancer from St. Louis, Tony Michaels, who had kind of been where I was wanting to go. And so he had choreographed for Johnny Gill, danced with Tisha Campbell, and SWV, and This Is How We Do It, Montel Jordan. Like, he had already had a bunch of stuff under his belt and was, you know, doing okay. And so we kept in contact. His twin sister actually was working at the school at St. Louis University, at the university. When I went to college, you know, we got back together, whatever. Anyway, I kept in contact with him, and he said he saw all my peers, because eventually, while I was in college, 20 plus of my peers went to California, and eventually everybody started dancing with artists. So Aaliyah come in town, there with Aaliyah, I met her, Blackstreet, Bobby Brown, gosh, who else? Usher, eventually, Backstreet Boys, and eventually Michael Jackson. One of my peers danced with Michael Jackson and even went on to do Rock My World video. So yeah, so like all of my peers, like 20 plus 30 easy, no exaggeration, all left St. Louis and came to California and started doing things. And I didn't come out to California until like 2001, 2 years after I graduated from college. And that was only by the advice and suggestion of another dancer who was my senior, who was like, you know, I think you're good, I think you should go, you know, give it a shot, this and the third, I'm gonna go out there, do this, that, and the third, you know, I think you should try too. And also my sister had moved out here by then through her job, and so at least they gave me a place to stay, even though she was in Orange County. But I came out here in February 2001, caught up with Tony shortly thereafter, and by May of that year I was on the biggest tour of that year, aka NSYNC 2001, Odyssey, Pop Odyssey, and opened for them with another artist, Dante Thomas, and did some things, which was really nice. And then of course Aaliyah died that August. 9/11 happened. I was actually in Turks and Caicos and came in on 9/10 and woke up to 9/11. Came into the States the day before. You know, that's a video for another story. Let's get into this mindset and you know, Christianity stuff. So, but I'm gonna stop right there because that's a good 30 minutes. So at least just shy of 30 minutes. So I'm gonna stop it there, post this, and I'll hit you with part 2.